Hello, this is Lisa Phillips, video blogging for Bigger Pockets, and today's episode is homeowners associations and how to treat them with kids' gloves. Homeowners associations are associations that were created for neighborhoods or condos or townhome developments, and their main mission is a fiduciary obligation to keep the neighborhood as well kept and the facilities as maintained as possible, and they're usually responsible for a lot of the maintenance. They're usually made up of a board, usually with a president, a secretary, and a treasurer that is voted in every 1, 2, or 3 years by the neighborhood. And you need to understand they have a lot of power. So first things I want to say when treating them with kids' gloves, just understand they do have a lot of power. They can tell you what you can and cannot do, and you have to get their approval. It really chafes at a lot of property owners to do this, but if you understand that first, it makes it a little easier when dealing with them. Again, they can determine if all the buildings need to be owner-occupant. I can tell you when I had to move out of state for my condo, I had to ask permission to be able to be a renter. I gave them the most nicely worded, I'm on your side letter I could, and they agreed to do that. But there are other homeowners that they said no to, and they could have said no to me. And you can imagine the problem that would have caused, because I would have had to pay for a property that was vacant because I got a job in another state. 2, they can foreclose on you if you do not pay their fees. They can raise fees or lower fees as needed depending on the maintenance needs. And if you do not pay them, they do have the right to foreclose on your property. So it's something to keep in mind if you have a choice of an HOA property for a rental and one that is not. And finally, read your codes and regulations before you join. The real estate agent will have access and will usually be able to send you to it. I must warn you, it's very big. I have read mine for every community I've stayed in. But you know, if you're dog barking and they fine you, they will point to page 272 of this code and regulations book and let you know that it is a valid reason that they can fine you or give you a warning or a violation notice. So tips on handling these guys with kids' glove is A, if you can, pass on a property for a rental. If you can. If you have the choice between 2 properties, one with an HOA and one without, and they still are equitable and cash flow well, even if the other one needs a little bit more work, I will still go with the one that does not have an HOA. If you can, pass, because the level of oversight that they add to your business is just extra work that you have to do on top of an already challenging investing strategy, which can be real estate investing. 2, get permissions from your neighbor. Whenever you want to paint or put something up, a tree or garden, you need to get usually permissions from your left side, your right side, behind you, and across the street. When you do it, smile when you're talking to your neighbors. Sometimes this is the only time I ever talked to my neighbors and spoke to them in some of the neighborhoods I just smiled and got it over with. It chafes, it's your property, but you have to do it. Do I need to tell you the stories about the people who put up fences and had to take them down because it was the wrong type of fence? It didn't fit the look of the neighborhood? Or, you know, a colleague who had a red, painted his deck red, but because it wasn't the right shade of red, he had to completely repaint it. Yeah, time and man hours and paint that he had to waste doing that. Just make sure you get your approvals ahead of time as written in your codes and regulations booklets. When dealing with them and you have a request, always start off by saying that is your intention as well as theirs to keep your property and the neighborhood as well maintained as possible. It always seemed to work in my favor when you go ahead and tell them that right up front, like my goal is to keep my neighborhood nice and my house nice. It just helps when you go, but I need this. And I think they're so used to, personally, I think they're so used to people arguing with them about another violation that when they finally hear someone say, I'm on your side, I think they breathe a sigh of relief. So if you can, go lightly and let them know that you're on this side. Those key words that you're just as committed as keeping a well-maintained facility as them can be the code words that make it a little bit smoother to sort of get your request seen to and not just a solid no up front. And when they fine you or give you a violation notice, I say give in gracefully. Just give in. You can't fight them. It costs a lot of money if you take on a small claims court, and even then, half the times when I read the newspaper or research it, most people lose. I've had violation notices from my tenant not putting up the you know, the trash can in time. You know, you only have one day on Sunday. It was out Monday. I got a notice. I got the notice like 4 weeks after the violation notice, so I don't even know if it's still an issue. Just pass it on so they know. I've gotten violation notice because one of my tenants' kids, they said, was throwing rocks at the mailbox, or they were doing a lot of things apparently according to these violation notices. Pass it along to your tenant. There's not much you can do. You try to fight it. You try to go to the housing authority. They just can't interfere with the HOA. So I say, if you can, pass on them, but if not, learn how to deal with them in a more effective way, and try not to get extremely irritated when they're telling you what you can or cannot do with your rental property. But just understand, they do have a lot of rights to tell you what your renters, your inhabitants, or the outside look of your property needs to be according to their standards. Keep that in mind if you're going to invest in a property with an HOA. So this is Lisa Phillips, video blogging for Bigger Pockets. Thank you very much.